welcome back to the First Time Homebuyer Show. I'm your host, Esty Klaassen. As you know, we have absolutely amazing content coming to you every night this week. We have Zamantungwa Kumalo with the Private Property Podcast. That's Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. And of course, if you're interested in farming and agriculture, we have Mbali on your screens every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. And of course, are you looking for your perfect home? Well, travel South Africa with Chad Viveros as he finds the perfect home on the Home Shopper Show every Monday and Friday. And of course, without further ado, you know that the First Time Homebuyer Show is live at 8 p.m. every Wednesday. And tonight, I'm sitting with the absolutely amazing Ekow Quagraine. Good evening, Ekow. How are you?
Good evening, Esty.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us on the show. I know you have such a hefty title that you carry, and I want to just quickly try and introduce you because in your bio, I see that you're the CEO and founder of Be Grand Properties. What all do you do at Be Grand?
So at Be Grand, we do property investment, property management, student accommodation, rent house and sales some of the time, but predominantly the business is at the heart of property investment, where we buy whether dilapidated properties or existing properties and then refurbish the property and then rent them out.
Which we're going to get to later. Yeah. And I just want to actually go back to how Ekow and I met. We had absolutely no idea because you speak about student accommodation and coming all the way from Cape Town, coming to the big city, Mzansi, Johannesburg. Obviously afraid, my first year studying at Wits University, I was looking everywhere for student accommodation. And a few days ago, I called Ekow and he had my number saved already. Yes. What happened there? So I had called you looking for...
Yeah, so you called me looking for accommodation, and as I do, I'm very passionate about what I do and trying to stay in contact with my clients, because even though you're a student and you stay in our property, I still look at you as a client and not just a student staying in our property. So whenever a student calls me directly, I save the numbers. And sometimes, we share ideas. I send photos to the student to say, this is what we're trying to do. What do you think? And that's how your numbers got saved on my phone.
And we were even talking about how you need to maintain this relationship with anyone you meet on the street. Because, what if we got off on a bad foot, or what if, something went wrong?
Yes.
And you were talking about how from the carpenter to the person on the street, you just have to maintain that relationship with them.
Yes, very, very important, because the thing is, you get placed in a certain position, but it doesn't make you a better human being than any other person. The only thing that difference between you and that person is the brains or the mind, right? So to build something, you need people. And irrespective of where the person comes from, you just need to respect everyone. I'm successful, and I can proudly say that, but I'm successful only because of the people. I have never been successful on my own.
What could you have done without them?
Exactly.
You need your clients to keep your business growing. Exactly.
And look at you here. Now you're the boss, you're interviewing me, and at that level like we're doing now. But I remember when I was growing up, and my mom was a secretary, and she was doing pretty well. And people around her always, they were driving, had their own cars and the rest. So one day I asked my mom, why are you not buying a car? And she just said, if I don't own these premises that we stay in. And back in the day, that the government companies always had properties that they let out to their senior employees. And there was a process whereby they were busy trying to sell the properties to the employees. And she said, if I don't own this property, I will never buy a car.
Right.
Because it's 4 basic needs of human beings. It's food, clothing, shelter, electricity and water. So you can do without.
It's about, you see what your mother did was she had a goal, and before she could have, and I feel like for me a car is a luxury.
Yes.
We can get around, I've been getting around without one. So your mom had a goal, and she was like, before I accomplish this goal, I will then get a car. And what is Ekow's current goal?
So my current goal, what wakes me up, is to create 3,000 jobs. If I could get there, then I'm done. I can just raise my hand and say, God, I'm ready, call me.
Amazing.
So that's the goal. The goal is to create 3,000 jobs through the power of real estate. So now we're on 10.
Nice.
And hopefully by the end of the year, we'll get to 15. And then we're hoping that by 15 years down the line, we'll get to the 3,000 jobs.
And I solely believe that you could get there, even if it does take a little bit longer
Yes.
than a year. Again, moral of the story is having a goal, something that you can, like you said, wake up every morning and this is my goal. So what can I do today that can help me one step closer to achieving employing those 3,000 people? In your bio, you also talk about how you want people to leave legacies.
Yes.
Through property.
Yes.
How do you intend on doing that?
So what we intend to do, and basically it's very funny we're sitting in this room, but if you view across the street, those properties that are modeled across the street was my idea. I found the owners, went through a model with the owners because Wits was my school, so just across the street. So found the owners, go through the model, showed them how they can make money out of the business, converted one of the building just across was for it wasn't an accommodation. There was a school. So school. It was a school that was operating in that building. But I managed to get to the owner, and then I showed her a model. She bought my idea. So every single thing that you see there across the road was my idea. The painting colors, the floors, converting the rooms to the student accommodation, everything. And that's what we've done. And that helped me to be able to actually hire Andile as my partner. Hired Andile whilst I was still working because I couldn't be there and be at work. And I believe that if you're doing something, you need to give it your all. So before I quit my job, I have to get out on a good foot, right? So that's what we did. So that's the impact story of it. And also another thing we do is to manage people's property properly. I believe that if you manage somebody's property properly, they say I'm expensive because I always come in and raise the price. So they call me the money man. But if you do it properly, if my clients are doing well, I'm doing well, because then I can leverage off their existing income because I know how much they make. And I'm the only person that can go in and say, hey, listen, when I came, you were making 80,000 right now, you're making 1.5 million a month. So therefore, give me 500, let me do this. And I'll pay you back. And that's how the business was built.
Again, it's that relationship with people. That's so core of what you do, you know? And so this all happened straight after university, straight after you graduated?
No, so that happened when I was working for the bank.
Oh, yes, of course. Because and I love always bringing up young people, graduates who, because our unemployment rate has just spiked through the roof right now. So I love bringing up the fact that, yes, okay, so you've just graduated, you started working in the banking sector, but it's about that courage to go into a building, go into a place, have the vision, see it. So tell me about Ekow's courage. Where did that motivation and drive come from?
So I think it's a genes thing, if I must put it that way. It's a family thing. So I come from, our family is rooted embedded, our business is rooted embedded in our family history. So my grandmother, who was an illiterate, that had 7 kids, husband passed away, so 7 female kids. Let me stress that, female kids. Husband passed away, managed to educate all her kids. She was just a seller on the street, selling tomatoes and chili. And when we were growing up, my cousins and I used to go sell for our grandmother, and she used to play a competition game with us. So whoever comes early gets either pawpaw or get egg. So that was the reward. And I think that's where the love for selling. So if you ask anybody who's Ekow, what does Ekow do, they'll tell you Ekow is a salesperson. And that's where the love came. But now to do it on the property level is a different thing. The property level just came into play when I asked my mom that question, and also just understanding where we are now, and not wanting to be on the street. So that's where.
And we've had many conversations with previous guests in the past who look back at their life, where they come from, and it's really just the only thing that's driving them forward is to just not go back there.
So with me, I wouldn't say I'm from a family that was rich and not poor. In terms of going back with my family, I'm always proud to be associated with my so I don't have any bitter experiences. But one thing I know is that I have a lot to give to be a failure, if I can put it that way. So 3,000 jobs. So how am I supposed to create that? So how do I do that? what is the outcome, what is the due date, what's the goal. So basically, so those are the things that drives me. And I remember when I was a child, again, selling for my grandma, I used to sell sweets, so coconuts from Ghana. So we had coconuts at the back of our yard, and we used to plug that coconut. My brother and I, Ebo will probably tell you the same story. So I used to make sweet out of coconut, sell them. At the age of 11, I paid my own school fees, paid Ebo's school fees at the age of 11. So what has kept me going is having the strength to save money and be able to use it better. That's what keeps me going.
And you know, they call you the money man, and I'm going to do the same thing, because I know that finance is also a language that you speak so fluently. And it's very difficult for a lot of us to understand the importance of saving. One, because maybe we weren't taught it in the schooling system we grew up in. Two, maybe our parents did not teach us, and maybe our parents weren't saving because they didn't have the means to save. They only earned 3,000 rand and couldn't. What can they save? They have to send you to school, they have to secure the shelter, security, food, water, electricity. So let me find out from you. You know, you were pushed, you were taught how to save, you were taught to actually go out and make that money. How important is saving to you?
Saving is very crucial. It's like your bloodstream, right? You cannot live without having the blood in your vessel. You'll die. So the important thing is, the question I think probably the audience and viewers must ask themselves, how much do you want to earn when you turn 65? Because now we've got the energy, we push, but at the age of 65, your savings is going to push you. Because you're not going to make the same 20,000 rand or 30,000 or 100,000 that you make at the end, every month from the company. You're basically redundant, because even though you have the knowledge, you don't have the energy. So young people like us must come and replace you. The only thing that can keep you afloat is your savings and your money savviness. And that is what's very important, and that's what I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about personal finance. Our YouTube channel, Property Ask Ekow, was born out of being passionate about personal finance. Looking around me, looking around my employees, looking at everything that we do. If any of my employees talk to you, one thing they will tell you is I always tell them about saving and buying property. You cannot work for big rand if you don't own a property. Then my dream is shattered.
Exactly. It's about having the people who work for you have a similar mindset, and also having those goals that you have. Because working for Ekow is already living proof that you want your employees to achieve same goals as you are, because you're living proof that it works, that this mechanism works. And I want to speak to the viewers quickly about that question that you just asked. How much do you want to earn at 65, let's say before you retire? But the question to the viewers is, and Ekow, I think it's a brilliant question, is how do you plan on doing that? How do you plan on achieving that goal? Ekow, we spoke earlier, and you also talk about the power of real estate. I want you to dive deeper into that and tell me what the power of real estate has done for you. So
to me, the power of real estate, I look at it in 3 stages, right? And what I say is that in every calamity, there's an opportunity. So the power of real estate enabled me to quit my job, because through my rental income, I had the power to be able to get out of what I do, because I've created passive income, and I could live on my passive income and then bounce off to do bigger things. So that's one power, right? The second power is to be able to create jobs. Having people, employing people, having people on the street, working, the builders, the workers, every single person that have helped with our journey. It's a job creation. So that's the power 3. The third one is exactly the crisis that we're in, right? Every single president in this world sang the same song from the same hymn. They said, stay at home, right? Stay at home. So residential real estate, big business. So that's the power you get. The president didn't say go on the street. They actually said don't go on the street. Lockdown is here, stay at home. Keep your distance, be safe, stay at home. That was the message. Where do you stay? At home is your shelter. It's your residential apartment. And that's the power of real estate. That's the power that you get.
I love how, because I can see what the power has done for you, but and I want to go back to your goal, which is employing 3,000 people. Already you have a small handful of people. Maybe you can give us an example of what the power has done for them. from an employee, someone that you've held their hand, you've guided them through this process. Could you see the power working in them?
Yes. So, for example, Teboko sitting across the street, the power that's done for her is to be able to come to work, to be able to help her family through the salaries through the income that we get from real estate, because our business is predominantly from real estate. So the income that we get, the rental income, that's the power that pays the salary. And she touches life. She helps her mother, she helps her brothers, she helps her siblings. So those are the powers that I'm talking about. And without that product being a real estate product, we were not going to be able to do that. The power that Teboko has instilled in me is through the property Ask Ekow. If I never had Teboko, through my leveraging of my income, she was not going to give me the idea to say, Ekow, you're always educating, you're always telling us about money, and I love what you say, and why don't we do it bigger, because everybody wants to hear about this. Why don't you educate the audience? Why don't you let them know that you're an ordinary person? And that's what she says, you're an ordinary person, and you've achieved so much. And to be honest, my mother didn't give me money to start my business. My sister didn't give me money to start my business, but they gave me something. They gave me education. And even though people see education wrong, they think that you know the school system is bad. I agree with that. But the important thing is the goal. It comes down to goal setting. And if you don't set the right goals, you won't even have the mentality to find out personal finance. And that is what we here to change. That's the narrative that we want to embed in our audience, to let them know that the only thing that makes you special is your mind. That's it.
And that's why I love the show, is because we chat to ordinary people, just like Teboko was telling you. You're an ordinary man coming to build an empire, and everyone that you surround yourself with wants to achieve the same goal. So who better to educate them than yourself? And I want to talk, because like you said earlier, you're always teaching people and giving them ideas how to make money, almost said to be rich. And for me, I hate that word, because it's not about being rich for me. It's about being wealthy in knowledge, wealthy in the way you walk, the way you talk. Wealth is way more important than riches. And that's but we'll touch on that a little bit. I'm getting too deep here. I want to go further into how you educating people, and that's why we have this platform. Earlier we spoke back at your place about strategy. What is your property? What is your real estate strategy?
So my real estate strategy, I always have three folds, right? We've got the before strategy. So the before, during, after. So your before strategy is always see the property, go with the gut feeling, right? You need to do the numbers. Your cash flow must make sense. That's the before strategy. So what model are you using? You've seen the property. What systems are you going to put in place to make the business become a successful business? That's the before strategy. During strategy, I look at my real estate, every single investment or every single property, like you saw at my place, is supposed to give me 5 basic income. And I like the fact that you mentioned wealth, and we will get there. So the first is we need to have a higher rental collection rate, a minimum 95% rental collection rate every single month. So then how do we do that? So that's during strategy. The second is to create capital appreciation. So what kind of tenant are you putting in the place that's going to make sure that will look after your property so that it doesn't deteriorate or depreciate or get damaged as quickly as possible? What are the systems that you're putting in place? What are the materials that you're using? So that is the capital appreciation that we look at. The third is, how do I leverage off my property to invest? So how do I go to a bank and say, hey, this is my property, can you give me money out of it? So that's the third one. The fourth one is the fourth one is to profit from inflation. So how do you structure it right so that you've got a tenant that's going to be a loyal customer to you, so that even the following year when you increase the rent, they're thinking, I'm not going to go anywhere, because you know what? That property you saw, that property I took you to, I've designed it to be a place that I can see myself sleeping there. And if I can sleep there, I know anyone will sleep there. So that is the fourth strategy. The last, which is the most important strategy, is how do you create generational wealth from that property? How do you pass it on to your kids, to your siblings, to whoever that you're working with? And that is the fifth strategy. So that is the 5 income streams I see during phase, if I should put it that way. And then you now go to the after phase, which the after phase is your exit strategy. So what is my exit strategy? I don't buy properties to sell, I buy them to refinance those properties. Meaning that if the capital appreciation is good, if my rental income is good, if I've created enough free cash flow on that property, then I can go to the bank and say, listen, I want to buy another building next door, but instead of me coming for $1 million, can you take this property, give me the equity portion, and then I'll go do another one. So my strategy, exit strategy, has always been refinancing.
Right. And how has refinancing benefited Ekow?
So refinancing has benefited Ekow in so many ways because we've been able to build so many apartments. We've grown our business significantly over the past 5 years that I quit my job and concentrated on building that big brand. Even though we've been in the property business for over 10 years, because when I started working, that's when I started buying properties, right? But for the past 5 years, we've grown very significantly. We're sitting over 70 apartments, which is great, and we could do that through the power of real estate, through the power of rental income, and through the power of refinancing.
I like how you say the power of real estate, the power, because all of these things have power in them, and that is what keeps you going, and that keeps you achieving those goals. You know, and I want to go to, I always ask about challenges, and because like we said earlier, you're a regular guy. We could all be Ekow, you know, in the next few years if we strategize the way you do. And I want to find out about you. Were there any challenges that came in your way? I mean, leaving the bank, that's a secure job. And then just leaving it to hoping that the property journey for you takes off.
So leaving the bank was not the scary part of it. Like I've always known that I've got a bigger purpose. But even though I had to learn from the best. So the strategies we put in place in our businesses is like the banks. So our big brand is structured like a bank. It's a corporate business. That's how we look at it. So it has helped me a lot. You always have to learn from somebody. Understand, I always say, if you want to be the best, you need to learn from the best. And working from the bank or learning from the bank has helped me on my journey to becoming the very best. So I couldn't have gotten where I am now. I'm very far from being the best, but I couldn't have gotten there if I never had those knowledge that I learned from the bank. So that was good. But the challenges now that you had in terms of with the cash flow, I was very conservative, so I never had problems with, you know, not paying my bond. So those things were covered, because what I did before I quit my job, the calculated risk that I took, and that's one thing the audience must know. You cannot quit your job hoping that you're going to take your 6 month salary and do something great. It never works. When I quit my job, my free cash flow was 2 times my salary on my property side. And that was the only way I could quit my job.
With confidence.
Because remember, when I quit my job, I'd already been paying my business partner to be doing this. So where did I get that money from? So those are the things that the viewers must understand. You need to set goals, you need to save. Saving is a big thing. At least 10% of whatever that you get in your hand must be kept at a saving somewhere. Whether it's supposed to be a short-term savings or long-term savings, but you need to save. I always say that you invest, you spend, you repeat. So that's how it's been.
That's the circle of life.
The challenge we had now is doing something for the first time, taking in tenants on a face value, not doing proper screening. So now you put a tenant in there, and before you realize they've got 50 people staying with them. You know, those are the challenges that we had, and we had to go through a system to clean it up. The challenges is never had a mentor. Everything that I've done is been first-hand experience. Read from a book, apply. I've never had any mentor in my life, which I think that if I was, but I'm still blessed. I thank God for whatever path that He puts me through. But I'm thinking, the best thing you have to do is to have a mentor. if I look back with the knowledge that I have and with the kind of things that we've achieved with the people that I have, if I had a mentor, we were probably going to be very, very far. So there's certain mistakes that I had to just make them. And through mentorship, you can avoid those little stumbling blocks.
That's one thing I've taken from being on this show is a mentor is so important. Have you officially gotten one now?
Yes.
So you see, it's about making those mistakes, but then you have the opportunity to rectify them. To not continue to make those same mistakes. And you talk about the challenges, and I was listening to a podcast a few days ago about how business owners and CEOs and these rich men never talk about the mistakes. They always talk about the one thing they did that made the company work. But we all know mistakes are inevitable. And to get comfortable with the fact that if you're going to leave a bank or leave a safe space for those who are working in different sectors, to leave that safe space to start your own company, to start and be by yourself, like you said, strategy. Have a savings plan. Like you can't just live off 6 months. No, you need to have a little bit more. So while you are still safe and secure, figure out what are the things that you can do to ensure that when you leave your safety net, you're still safe.
And that's exactly, so you go back to the points where I said when we started talking to people and say, hey, listen, I haven't, like, it's not been so long time when I was a student, and I see your building is at the right location. And if I could show you how to make money or make profit on your business, would you listen to me? Right? So maximize the knowledge. A lot of people make that simple mistake that you need money to make money. No. You need wisdom to make money. And you need to understand what your strength is. If you know your strength, like I can comfortably say in my strength, I'm a salesperson. That's what I do best. So, but how do I sell without understanding the analytics behind? How do I sell without understanding the numbers? So if you understand the educational part of it, because selling is a skill, but selling to a higher audience is an art and science. And
also knowing the product, talking about university, I was once walking around on campus and there was a poster that was just a poster of a random pen, and it said, can you sell me this pen in 30 seconds or something like that? And it's about, so we all know what a pen does. We all know when we use a pen. So it's about knowing your product as well. And you've grown up learning, knowing, increasing your knowledge about real estate. And you were so lucky to have your mom being on that journey already and already seeing mistakes she's made. And knowing not to make the same mistakes. But then Ekow makes his own mistakes. And you're okay with that. And we spoke about maximize. We quickly tapped on, and I wanna find out from you, how do you maximize your kind of property portfolio? How do you maximize that?
So to maximize it is, to us, it's contacts. Who do you know? Who are you talking to? So majority of the buildings that we own, right, post 2007, had always been a painter, a carpenter, a tenant, somebody on the street that took me to a seller. I understand the power of people and respecting people and giving people what you've promised them. Integrity and staying truthful is very key. And that is how we maximize our real estate portfolio. It's people and content.
So important. I mean, all your stories lead back to the power of people. And I feel like, we talk about the power of real estate, the power of maximizing property. I feel like your story has just taught me about the power of people and networking and communicating. And I remember when we spoke about people, and even whether they're a security guard or someone who's just a janitor cleaning the place, and you were like, the same respect you have for your mother, your father, this is the respect you need to give them on a day-to-day basis. Because like you said, this person tomorrow could come to you and say, listen, there's a property over here, it's been standing like this, the owner wants to sell, and he's only selling at this much. These are the people who have networked you to these absolutely amazing properties that you have. And to the viewers at home, we actually went to one this morning, which we're going to touch on right now. Let's go straight into that, because I want to find out about the lessons you've learned. You've been in this for about, you said 5 years?
No, it's more than, so a decade, over a decade.
Over a decade, but you left the bank 5 years ago. So you've been in this without having your safety net, your bank job for 5 years. And there's obviously been lessons that you've learned over this decade. And what was one of your most important lessons that you've learned through revamping and renovating and flipping these properties?
Okay, so the lessons that I've learned through that, so when I quit my job again, I took my money and then I went to auction, right? What we didn't do, and that's me and Andile. So what we didn't do was going into the property to check or to inspect, and that is why that's research and physically, or sending somebody to physically go into a property to check the property has always been my number one advice. Second to it is know your numbers, right? We didn't do that. So we bought a property, a very nice property at the auction, and we couldn't get in. So imagine, and when you buy properties on auction, you've got 21 days to pay off.
Right.
And our strategy was supposed to buy and flip the property. So we leverage off our money. We couldn't, eventually we did that. But if I didn't have my retirement money from the bank, I was not going to be able to, we're going to lose our money, because we paid down 10% to the auctioneer. And now you can't go in there. And the model that we didn't factor in eviction cost. And we had to pay to evict that guy out of that property. But if we had gone in, we could have just said, or we could have felt it and say, maybe this is not for us. It doesn't sit with our model. And hence, through that also, we learned and we developed a system to say, whatever that we buy, one, we're going to go check. Two, our return on investment must not be less than 15%.
Right.
Because we've done the numbers. So in every calamity, there's an opportunity.
Of course.
But again, it's how well are you prepared? If you're not prepared well, you lose everything.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that literally connects with my next question, because I want to ask you, how do you spot opportunity?
So opportunities, it's, to me, it's more intuitive. We see property on a gut feeling, but the numbers, your ROI, your return on investment. Once you've seen the property, whether you love the property or not, you must use the mind, because it's for investment. Right? And if you're doing anything for investment, the property itself and the numbers must make sense, and that comes from the mind. And then after, you then figure out, how do you add love to it? So how do you see yourself sleeping in that property? And that's when you have to renovate the property, fix things, put things properly, make it nice, make it livable, so that people can stay in.
And not many people do that. Not many people put themselves in the property that they've invested in. It's like, so basically what they do is they look at the area, they revamp it or flip it for the people that are in the area. But what if one day you find yourself in that area? Could you go and sleep there?
Yes. So that is the question. So if you ask yourself, can I sleep in this property? You've answered three things. The location, you've ticked. So that's the area you're talking about, right? Peace of mind, ticked. That is something that you know, nobody's going to be calling you at the middle of the night saying somebody's there harassing us. So you've ticked that peace of mind. And success is ticked, because you must remember that making money is not the end result of success. Right? Success is the end result. So you need to attain success first before you can make money. So those are the three boxes. By asking myself that question, I've just ticked those three boxes. It's my peace of mind, it's the location, and it's success. And again, obviously, the obvious boxes that we spoke about, which is your security. And if you have peace of mind, it's because you're in a secure place. Exactly.
So I like that you do that. Like, again, I'm going to repeat that you, as someone who is a property investor, if you cannot live, if the place is not livable for you, because, you know, at the end of the day, we're all just people. And I think it's very important to know that as much as it's okay for us to network and know all these people, that these are the people that have helped you. So it's about a helping hand. And I always, you know, I love talking about what do they say? You rub my back, I rub yours.
Yes.
That's the saying.
Yes.
And just to have that relationship with anyone on the street is very important.
Yeah.
I want to find out, just before we close off, we talk about risk and reward.
Yes.
What were some of the risks that you had to endure on your property journey?
So the risk that we had to endure, I think I've spoken a bit of it in terms of not doing the proper screening.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So then you've got a risky tenant staying in your property and you have to evict it. So evict that person, so you lose money.
Right.
And going to buy a property at the auction without viewing the property, that's another risk. You lose money. The reward is, once you've done everything properly and you've gone through your numbers, you've seen the property, the reward is always bigger than your risk.
Right.
So my thing is always say, we have to lose something, but your winnings must be more than what you lose. And you're going to have more winnings if you don't make the same mistake twice.
Of course.
The first mistake is not a mistake, it's a learning curve.
It's a lesson learned.
The second mistake on the same principle is a mistake, and you don't want to do that.
You just spoke about, that making a mistake once is a lesson learned.
Yes.
What has been your biggest life lesson that you've learned?
So my biggest life lesson is that's actually a big one. So because to think through properly, so biggest life lesson is basically what happened during COVID. And you get to, so to me, it's more an appreciative side in terms of the lesson, to get to know that you're actually in the right space. You might not be collecting the rent at the rate that you're supposed to collect because of the pandemic. People are sitting at home, they're not getting their salary, they're not getting paid. All that factors are playing a part in terms of how it affects you. But the biggest thing is the confirmation that the model that we've used is working. And that, to me, is the biggest lesson.
Right. To know that something you've worked so hard to achieve is successful, is working.
Yes.
I usually do a little game with my guests at the end of the show, and I'm going to give you 3 words.
Okay.
And I'd like for you to say the first thing that comes to mind when I say these words, right? So the first word for you is liberation.
Financial freedom.
Nice. That was going to be my next word. Financial freedom. We went into a little bit of generational wealth.
Yes.
Let's go into that generational wealth.
So generational wealth was it's the legacy builder, building a legacy.
That was my next word, Ekow, legacy. Thank you. So let's go, because I feel like, and actually this is a very important point to make, that your reward, your being liberated, being financially free, having generational wealth is building a legacy.
Yes.
This cannot work without all of those.
Yes.
So I mean, because of when I thought about this game and what words to give you, just looking at your bio, looking at what you've achieved, and I should have guessed that all of these would connect for you.
Yes.
It's exactly what you've been doing and what you've achieved. Yes. Thank you so much for being on the show. Just before we go, you talk about biggest life lessons, and you're also a motivational speaker.
Yes.
So I want to close off the show with you maybe leaving some last words for the viewers, because I know that you're so well at motivating.
Okay, so the viewers, I think what you need to do, important thing in life is you have to set goals. Number one, you cannot get to anywhere that you want to get without having a goal. So let me break it down in a simple form. You can't get into a car and drive. You need to get into a car with a mindset that I'm driving to Joburg. Right? That's the goal. And then you figure out, how am I going to get there? So I need a car to get there. Do I know how to drive? If I don't and I want to drive myself there, I need a license. So those are the things. But the bigger goal, the main goal, is to get to Joburg. So set goals. Never underestimate yourself. Believe in your dreams. Have the right attitude. The best asset you ever have is your mind. Besides God, your mind and your family. So always charity begins at home. So always, whatever product that you have, think of it this way. Who in my family, or who, and family, I don't mean just blood related. Family can be a friend. So if your friends are not buying from you, if you cannot sell to your friends, you don't have a business. So charity begins at home. And I think the last one is, they call you stubborn when you fail. but they call you persistent when you succeed. So therefore, you don't have to give up. Because when you persist, when they're calling you a failure, at the end of the tunnel, they will call you a successful person.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that metaphor that you used. If you get in a car, you go to Joburg. Let's not forget that obstacles, a flat tire,
Yes.
pothole.
Yes.
There are obstacles that are going to be in your way.
Yes.
But what is your end goal?
Yes.
To
get to Joburg. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much,
a
Ekow.
pleasure.
Thank you to our viewers at home. I hope you had an absolutely amazing time with us. As you know, this is the place and the platform where you too can share your stories. We're speaking to an ordinary person, Ekow, so humble and such an amazing conversation. And we would also love to hear these stories from you. If you can do it, we can do it. Thank you so much and have a great evening further.